Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Monday night in Azeroth, and we have a great show lined up for you. We're going to be talking about the race to world first for Midnight. It's going to be a little bit different type of race this season because we have 3 raids that are being launched all at once. We also have a 4th raid that's going to get launched with the 12.0.7 patch, but we're not going to talk about that one yet. We're just going to stick with the 3. So this will be interesting. It'll be fun, and we'll get into all the ins and outs and the details and talk about what counts and what doesn't count and what the top raids are working on and all that sort of thing. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and enjoy. But before I get into all of that, before I get into the news, I will do a quick rundown of what I got up to last week in World of Warcraft, because last week I did some classic WoW, surprisingly enough. I'm sorry, that was obnoxious. Look, I'm playing Classic, and I played Midnight. I did the whole thing. I set everything up, and now I'm kind of just taking my time and relaxing. Now that the initial rush has gone away of new expansion, got to log into Midnight, I'm finding fewer and fewer reasons for me to log on. The delves are good. The delves are good in Midnight. They're better than they were in the War Within. The dungeons, I haven't done any of the seasonal dungeons yet, so I still need to get in and do some mythics or some mythic zeros and just kind of see what that's all about. Obviously, I haven't done the raids yet either, so it's I feel bad because I really want to play Midnight, but I'm having too much fun in Classic. Speaking of Classic, so here's the thing. Classic is such an interesting beast, because if you've played Classic, especially Vanilla and Burning Crusade, before you get into like the Dungeon Finder and stuff like that, you want to run a dungeon. You get in there and you say, I'm going to run a dungeon. You look for a group. Once you find the group, you've got to actually go to the dungeon. Usually that requires summoning people, or summoning stones, whatever. You got to get to the dungeon. And then after 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or however long it's taking you to get to this point, to the first pull, now you see how the group is. Now you know, can this healer handle it? Can the tank handle it? Is the tank a jackass? Are the DPS dum-dums? Yeah. So I had to deal with some of that this week, and it was really frustrating. I got into a Mechanar group, and everybody's there, and then suddenly the tank goes, I forgot something from the bank, and so we had to go summon him back. And it was like a whole thing, right? So whatever, we got in, we started pulling, everything was going fine, and then it was, I don't know, I almost felt like maybe he didn't even know where he was going. It's like, there's not that many places to go. It's Mechanar. But we got through it. We managed to clear it. The second boss, or third boss, if you count the 2 mini bosses as a boss, the fire boss, that was a little challenging, but we did it. And so we cleared the place, and I got my trinket, which was really nice. So technically I don't ever have to go into Mechanar again. So, and this is one of the things that I don't understand with what Blizzard have done in Classic this time around. I was listening to Countdown to Classic, and Josh is doing a maybe once a month now, maybe once every 6 weeks episode. But this episode, this most recent one, he was talking about how Blizzard's approach to Anniversary Burning Crusade servers is so bizarre, because you released the raids in pre or post nerf state, right? So while they're not like, it's not a cakewalk, you have a reasonably geared and experienced group, and you're going to burn through Karazhan really fast. Same thing with Gruul Slayer and Magtheridon Slayer. It's not hard. It's not like, I don't even have to think. I can just close my eyes and no, you still have to work, and you still have to do the strats and still have to do the mechanics, but it's just really not that hard. It's just really not. But then heroics are hard, and I don't understand why. And for me, as playing a hunter, I need so few things from heroics where it's like, I need to get this item for my bis. It's like almost nothing. So to me, why would I run a heroic when I can do it on normal and it's easy? And I just don't understand what Blizzard is trying to accomplish by making the heroics hard. Make them easy. They don't have to be as easy as normal, but why? It's just weird. So, for me, it's just a matter of I just don't see the point in running heroics because personally, it's just not something I want to do. I don't want to spend my time on that. It's just not entertaining. It's not fun. So, that being said, I am trying to finish up my the rest of my heroic keys. I don't have them all yet. Just because it hasn't been a priority. I do have the quest to kill Nightbane or to summon Nightbane now, so that you have to go into heroic. I forget which ones it is. Doesn't matter. I mean, there's always 2 or 3 people in the raid team who are like, oh, I can summon Nightbane. Everyone wants to summon Nightbane. Like, I did all that work. I want to summon him. Yeah, I know. So anyway, that's what I did last week in WoW. It's just weird to me that Blizzard would leave it in this kind of state. You know, make the gear better then. Make a I don't even know how you would improve on heroics because they're harder. They're harder than the raids for sure. They don't give better loot than the raids. They don't. You can get some things from heroics and they're good. You know, some of the epics that drop at the end, yeah, it's good. But by and large, like if I had to say overall, you're going to get better loot from raids. If you had to choose one to gear up, if I said you can only gear up with either A, heroics, or B, raids, what are you going to choose? Yeah, you're going to go with the raids. So anyway, that's my frustration there. The rating itself was fine. You know, it's I'd say we have about half to 3/4 of the raid team who knows what we're doing and are pretty experienced and are familiar with Karazhan and how it all works out and everything. But we have a few that are just not as experienced. One of our tanks today, who's actually an arms warrior, but we had him tank, and he wasn't as familiar with it, and I think he was maybe not as geared as we would have preferred. He tried really hard. He was a nice guy, but it was rough. So we had to have the paladin tank take over his main tank, which he enjoyed, but it's also not ideal. You don't necessarily want your paladin tank to be your main tank. Paladin tank is a good off tank, but we still cleared through Prince. We didn't do Nightbane. We didn't do Nether Spite, but otherwise, yeah, we cleared everything else out. So it was a good week. It's just we're 4-5 weeks in now, 6 weeks into the season, Burning Crusade. I'm wondering when we're going to get word on phase 2, because honestly, I'm already getting to that point where it's like, should I level an alt? Because running heroics just doesn't do anything for me. I still have a couple of pieces of gear that I need, but I can get them from normals. So what's the point? Anyway, that's all I got there. There's just not a lot of focus on heroics as an end game activity. So, the other thing that I did last week, and I have to be careful not to talk too much about this because I don't want to say the wrong thing and piss somebody off, but being an officer in a very, very large guild, I mean, we have 4 guilds that we are managing here, 2 max level guilds and 2 leveling guilds. We have 4 raid teams, 4 25 player raid teams, and 10 Karazhan raid teams. It's a lot. It's a lot to manage. Thankfully, I don't have to manage that part of it. I just have to manage my small crew. But even that is difficult. We had a boomkin who 2 weeks ago he was late to Gruul Slayer, which it's like, well, we kind of need you for the first fight, so we waited for him, and that worked out. And then he showed up for Karazhan the next night, which was fine. And then this last raid week, he didn't show up at all. No call, no show, no nothing. Didn't say, hey, I'm going to be out. So we had to scramble. So we had 2 hunters doing the shaman boss on hiking. And we grabbed the mage for Karazhan. So, it's not ideal. It's not how I want to have to run the team. And I understand people need to take time off. You got to take time off. You need your spouse is upset that you're playing too many video games, or you have to go to your mom's house for dinner, or you got to work late, or, some days you just don't feel like it. I get it. I do. I understand. But don't leave us high and dry like that. That's not cool. These raid teams are built specifically with these specific numbers in mind. This isn't like, hey, sign up and just get into a raid. This is more of a, hey, you're going to, this is our raid team. So anyway, that's where I'm on that. So aside from that, not too much WoW stuff. I've been doing a lot of other things. It's the weather. The weather has been so schizophrenic in the Midwest here. So, it was 90 degrees on Sunday, and I wasn't ready for that. My dog, my dog decided to jump the fence again, so I had to get her back in the yard, and then I had to go and patch the fence up, which is always my favorite thing to do. I just started working in the backyard. So. And then last night we had like hail warnings and tornado warnings. So just, I don't know that I'll ever be used to the Midwest weather, hailing from Southern California. So, anyway, there we go. All right. That's enough of that. Let's move on to the news. Before we get to the news, there's one other thing that I wanted to cover, and that is a, forum post that I saw on Reddit. So, this one was interesting. So it was actually a couple different posts, and Wowhead actually took this and turned it into a article on their website, as Wowhead does. This is regarding the TBC Anniversary servers. So this first post was made March 9th by Winklebrain. Winklebrain says, "This is not satirical. How can we talk Blizzard into putting DST, or the Dragonspine Trophy, on the badge vendor? Make it a crazy number like 100 to 150 badges. It solves many problems, and the only counterpoint I can see is the, air quote, well, it's unfair I had to farm 50 hours for mine when others got theirs from a 10-man raid." He goes on. It would ensure everyone who wants to get one gets one. Raiding tanks would return to the heroic LFG queues to get their hands on one. Also would be better because the I have to farm DST blocker is gone. It would reduce loot drama in guilds. There are many plus sides, and I genuinely don't understand why this would be bad. How can we get traction on this? So, this is one of those things that people don't understand why there's friction in loot in an MMO, because there has to be friction. As soon as you start creating a frictionless loot acquisition, you go down the Wrath of the Lich King patch, which was everybody had epics and it was easy to get loot and blah, blah, blah. And even compared to modern World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King, it was harder to gear up. It was way harder. It's just an interesting idea, and it's part of this culture that we've created through partially Wowhead, creating these best in slot lists. I talked about there was somebody who posted about gear score the other day. They wanted to come up with an alternative to gear score, and have a way to measure somebody's gear, or to know what your best in slot item is, or what a good upgrade is for you based on more than just the item level, which in Burning Crusade, honestly, the item level doesn't matter as much. You could have a better piece of gear that's 103 if it's better, if the stats are itemized better. So, the other post that this came out a few days later, this is from Fatrix12. Shouldn't we, with an accelerated expansion progression, also get more loot per raid? He goes on to say, how are we going to get geared up on even one character with this short time? Given that luck is a huge factor as well, I thought it would make sense that there would be more loot per raid, because there will be a lot less raid lockouts in any phase before the next one comes. Or are people going to be half geared before the next phase begins this time? An inelegant way of putting his point, but still, it is a good point. And this begs the question of, what is the requirements of gear to be able to do this stuff? Because honestly, you don't need your best in slots. And I think that's one of the problems. People see these BIS lists on Wowhead and they go, well, that's the gear I need. And if I don't have that gear, then my character sucks. And it's like in Dragonflight. In Dragonflight, when they released the strength legendary weapon from Firaloth, people who didn't have it felt like their characters were incomplete, rather than the people who had it feeling like they had a boost in their damage. Everybody just felt like, well, my damage is scaled around that, so if I don't have it, then I'm shit. And it caused a lot of frustration for people. And I think that it's a lesson that Blizzard has had to learn over and over and over again in different ways, that the player base isn't going to see something as a bonus. Ooh, how fun. I got a legendary. Yay. It's, oh, thank God I finally got my legendary. Now I can finally play the game. And that's what's going on in TBC Anniversary. Melee, physical damage classes, tanks are having this idea of, I can't really play this game until I get my Dragonspine trophy or until I get my whatever. Same thing is going to happen when the Warglaives come in phase 3. People are going to be like, well, my character sucks until I get the Warglaives, right? So how to fix this? Wowhead suggests the idea that's currently being implemented in Classic, or that's currently active in Classic Mists of Pandaria, which is you do the heroic dungeons on a more difficult level, so heroic plus, and when you do that, you get a currency, and then you can use that currency to buy gear from the raid previous tier. Now, there are flaws with this, and it will work. The problem, though, is that why is it that we have created this culture of, I need to get this or I'm shit? There's a perfectly viable trinket on the badge vendor already. It's 41 badges, and it's really good. If you don't have the DST, but you're willing to farm badges, 100 to 150 badges, according to this first poster, just go get that other trinket. It's like 98% of the way there. The thing that makes DST so valuable is that, one, it gives you haste, which it's harder to get in TBC. I'll give you that. But two, it's not an on-use trinket, so it just happens. And that's really nice. People find that to be very appealing because they don't have to think about it. You don't have to build it into a macro with your cooldowns and things like that. So, fine. But all that being said, it's this culture of, I've got to get my stuff or I'm going to suck, is really frustrating. It's really hard. As somebody who's currently playing Anniversary, I can tell you, not everyone feels that way, but enough people do that it's a real problem. We had to have our loot council meeting, and that was every week when we do our loot council meeting. That's one of the topics that comes up is, if it drops, who's going to get the Dragonspine trophy? And it hasn't dropped yet for us, but we have to have that conversation every week because somebody's going to get butthurt about not getting it. I love going through the comments on these because they really... sometimes people make a good point. Sometimes you could tell they're just being mean for the sake of being mean, or having a nasty response just for the sake of engagement on the internet. I don't know. This person says, congratulations to Timmy for getting his full BIS week 1. It's an MMO. People shouldn't expect to be on equal footing. It is neither a balanced nor competitive PvE endgame. The player base created parsing to make it competitive on a third-party website. If you were actually trying to parse and compete, you should have made multiple charts with the same spec and raid on all of them to get you your GST. Make multiple characters with the same spec and raid on all of them. Oh man, I hate people on Reddit. If you were actually trying to parse and compete, you should have made multiple characters with the same spec and raid on all of them until you got your DST. You're not doing all that you can to be a top competitor, and you don't deserve an item just because, air quote, you want to parse. Or go play a class or spec that doesn't need it. I mean, sure. This person says, removing chase items from an MMO, making them a guarantee is a great way to make it so that no one cares about said chase items anymore. You would kill the hype for getting this item instantly and make tier 4 loot tables into just a big pile of forgettable garbage. This would make Dragonspine Trophy into a mandatory grind, which people would inevitably also complain about. Bloodlust Brooch is an incredible item, right? For some specs, it's better than Dragonspine Trophy. It's a great PvP trinket also. Do you ever hear any hype about it? Of course not, because it's a guaranteed badge item. No one gives a shit. That's a very good point. The amount of mediocre players who think they're one Dragonspine Trophy away from being good is a tale as old as time. That's a very valid point. And that's it, right? You think, well, if I could just get the DST, I'd be top parse. No, you wouldn't. You still don't have your weapons enchanted there, Turbo, so maybe you should do that first. And then this one says, it doesn't make a lot of sense to put a Phase 1 best-in-slot item on a vendor. Gruels and Mag are still relevant, time-efficient content well into Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep farming. Where it becomes cumbersome is Hyjal Black Temple, where there are still some big best-in-slot items in Serpent Shrine Cavern for a lot of classes and also Gruels. It kind of makes sense at the point to have gear vendor for tier 4 tokens, rings, and trinkets for catch-up. But right now, no, this isn't retail. You're not expected to have your full best-in-slot in a week. And that's really what it is. You want to go back later down the road and put these items on a vendor? I guess. I mean, I'm not 100% on board with that because one of the problems in Burning Crusade as compared to Wrath Lich King and beyond is that there are not different levels of gear. There's only the gear that drops from the bosses. There's no heroic, there's no raid finder, there's no normal. It just is. This is the gear. So you can't even put a lesser version of it on a vendor to make it appealing. You'd have to create that, which I think would create some weirdness in the community. So I don't know. This commenter says it would be nice to see an extra tier piece per boss, as we've had some horrendous luck with only getting warrior druid tier. But on the whole, loot spray is pretty easy to come by, and we don't need to be all full best in slot. I don't think it should make the offset pieces drop more, but I could see them doing something like they did in Wrath with the alpha dungeons that had loot from the raids and had a specific vendor you could buy pieces from, but I doubt they would spend the time to develop that. I mean, there's also that. Blizzard has been very hands-off from Anniversary because they don't have the development time because they're spending it all on Classic Plus or some other reason. I don't know, but they have been very hands-off. If people get too geared too fast, they wouldn't keep playing. Blizzard's ideal scenario is having people still farming the items they need until the next phase drops. And even then, going back to old content for stuff they need. That's very true. Half the posts and comments on here are about people being 1 to 2 pieces away from full bis. And we still have more than at least 6 more weeks of Karazhan. 10 weeks with no gear is just insanely lucky, and you'd definitely be in the minority. The current loot system is fine. I wouldn't mind them adding some of the good loot from Karazhan to Heroics with a low drop chance. Once Phase 3 starts, though, that's the perfect compromise, in my opinion. That's also not a bad idea, but, you're modifying the way things work. And I was just talking about how I don't like heroics, and maybe that's a good way to improve heroics and make them viable, I guess. I don't know. People cleared pre-nerf TBC 20 years ago without even half bis. We'll be fine. Yes, very good point. Too many chuds that scream the spirit of Classic that Blizzard feels emboldened to do absolutely nothing. Boosts, $100 mounts in the shop, bots literally everywhere, and these mouth breathers will still claim any changes are against the spirit of Classic. The player base can be thanked for the lack of any meaningful changes. Okay, Mr. Angry Man here. And finally, unpopular take. I used to share this opinion, but I think I kind of prefer it with the reduced loot. The raids are extremely fast, and we don't need the loot to clear it anyway. And missing pieces in the next phase will just mean we have a reason to do older raids on our mains on off nights. Most things to do for loot sounds like more fun. More things to do for loot sounds like more fun to me. I imagine we'll be able to clear Serpentine and Tempest Keep in one night, 1.5 tops. After a few weeks, then we can go kill old raids we still need loot from, instead of just calling it early. Well, that's one of the other things, is that a lot of people have this mindset of, well, just go on another night, and not everyone can do that. But again, if you can only play a couple nights a week and you can't really raid a whole bunch extra, why are you so worried about your parses? Let's be real. Yeah, there's an ego flex. Sure. You look at that, you got a gold or whatever it is next to your name. I don't parse, so I don't know. I'm happy if I get a purple parse. I'm like, ooh, which I haven't gotten in Burning Crusade yet. I did a few times in Vanilla Classic, but not in Burning Crusade. I don't understand that mentality. We're able to clear the content and we're able to have a good time. Those are the goals. That's what we want to do. And yeah, people want to have the gear so they can check the box and say, look at my character, isn't he cool? But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. What matters is, are you having a good time? And if you need a certain type of gear to have a good time, well, okay, that might be a problem, because the loot in an MMO is random, especially in the Burning Crusade. There was very little deterministic loot. The badge vendors is pretty much it. So yeah, you need to be a little bit more patient. Blizzard's not going to just start handing you epics. That doesn't come till later. If at all, on the anniversary servers, we still don't have any guarantee that we're even going to get Wrath of the Lich King, because I'm still convinced we're going to end up with Classic Plus, but that's just me. All right, let's move on to the news.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, so let's start off with my favorite news item from the past couple of weeks, which is this Pringles promotion in Germany that went horribly wrong. Wowhead's article title is great. Real life quest gone wrong. So basically what happened is, a couple weekends ago, Pringles launched a promotion for people to go around Germany and scan QR codes on these pillars across 6 German cities. And then if they combine all those QR codes together, you could log onto a website and get a code for a mount. This is the Thunder Ridged Elec mount. It's a really cool looking mount. I'm really impressed by it. The problem was that you didn't actually have to go get the QR codes manually, because it's a QR code. So somebody could just scan it and post it, and somebody else could grab it, and it just took you to the website anyway, where you had to solve a puzzle or a quiz, and that was it. And then you got your code, which, okay, fine. So it's easy to get the code. But then they only made 300 codes. I'm sorry, 3,000 codes. Still not very many, not for WoW players. So what happened is people went crazy and got as many codes as they could and started selling them. So you could see there's eBay auctions that were going off, where people were charging 100 euros for the mount code. It's a problem, because people are greedy and selfish. And as soon as you create a scarcity like that, it creates this, rather than other countries who don't have access to this promotion getting their codes, and people being like, hey, who wants a code? Anybody need a code? Now it's limited time, so I can make money off of this. And so it turned into a debacle. It was really ugly. People were really frustrated, and nobody ended up being happy except for the scalpers, who made a bunch of money off of it. So Blizzard put out a post saying that this mount, the Thunder Ridged Elec, and future limited availability promotional mounts, which means there will be more of these, will eventually make their way onto the trading post to be available to all players. So if you really like this mount, the thing to do is to get it when it comes on the trading post. Do not spend €100 or 400. There was one of them for 430 or whatever. Don't do that. Don't spend. If you're going to spend $90 on a mount, get the Longboy when it shows up on the Blizzard store. That's what I did. I'm not buying mounts for just because they're cool. I'm buying a mount because it has functionality that I want, and I use that thing all the time. So, was it a waste of money in the end? Probably, but I still bought it. But giving into the scalpers, it feels gross. It feels worse than buying these mounts directly from Blizzard. So, and if they put it on the trading post, the Thunder Ridge Elec on the trading post, that's going to be the way to go. So, yeah, that's it's just unfortunate. And if you're going to do a promotion like this, if you want people to go and do something real world, you need to make sure that they actually do it. Because right now, there's this thing called the internet that allows people to communicate instantly from anywhere in the country. So, yeah, that's a real problem. Anyway, yeah. So be on the lookout for the Thunder Ridge Elec mount showing up to the trading post sometime soon. Don't buy one off of eBay, please. All right. In other news, there is a new Twitch drop that is starting on March 26th. This is the Cuddly Void Gurgle Housing Decor plushie. So just a little Murloc, Void Murloc that you can put in your house somewhere. I love that all of these promotions and things in the store and all of this stuff, they're plushies, because it's like, yeah, it's cool to have them, but nobody's like, oh man, I'm one plushie away from my perfect kitchen, right? It's just kind of a neat little, oh, that's fun. Rather than, oh my God, they put the one thing that I need, the night elf, whatever chair in the. So, but this is easy to get. 4 hours of watching World of Warcraft being streamed on Twitch, and you will get your Void Gurgle housing decor item. And yeah, if you're not familiar with it, I'll say this every time they do a Twitch drop. You can do this by, one, you need a Twitch account. And two, you take your Battle.net account and you link it to your Twitch account. There's an article that Blizzard has posted on how to do that. Once you have done that, when you watch Twitch streams, if you're watching the World of Warcraft Twitch streams, and they have to say drops enabled, if you see that and you watch 4 hours of that, then you'll get your pet. And I'll always remind people that it's a good idea to watch some small streamers. You can go watch your favorite big time streamer if you want, but if you're not sure who to watch, maybe give some small streamers a chance. Give them an opportunity to earn your viewership by watching them for a little bit. You don't have to get in there and start chit-chatting with them if you don't want to. You can. Don't point out that it's empty in there. That's just uncomfortable for everyone. Wow, nobody's here, huh? Yeah, don't do that. But you can jump in and say hi, and some streamers will probably really love that. So, or go watch, your favorite big streamer. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but it's a good idea to try and spread out a little bit. So, all right. There is a Battle.net spring sale now through April 1st. So just a couple more days on that. And this is just games that are going to be on sale. So it's the typical games that are out there. Diablo 3, 4, whatever, Call of Duty, stuff like that. Of interest to World of Warcraft players, though, is the World of Warcraft character services are up to 30% off. And the Warcraft Battle Chest, which contains 1, 2, and 3, the real-time strategy games, are all 50% off. So, if you've always wondered, like, oh, well, how is Warcraft 3? And yes, it's Warcraft 3 Reforged, and some people don't like that. I get it. But the story is still good. And that's basically what we did for the, first 3 expansions, or the first 2 expansions of WoW plus Vanilla, is relive that story. Everything that happened in the game was at least partially a consequence of what happens in Warcraft 3. So it's worth checking out. Warcraft 2, you can see what happened to Ilarion, Turalion, and Khadgar at the end of at the end of the Second War, and I mean, the stories are really good. The gameplay is a little crude in some instances, but it's still fun. So yeah, I would definitely check that out. Or if you need to transfer a character, or rename a character, or whatever, you could do those as well. Okay. The WoW Ambassador Q&A with Holly Longdale will be on March 30th. So if you're not familiar with this, something they announced 2 months ago when they did the roadmap for 2026. The WoW Ambassador program is they're going to have partner Discord communities that are kind of feeding people into the WoW Ambassador program, so to allow people to communicate and get to know other WoW players. So the WoW Portal Room is their own, Blizzard's own Discord server for this program. It's been open for about a month now, and so in order to celebrate that, they're having Holly Longdale come on. She's going to be on March 30th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And if you're not familiar with who Holly Longdale is, she is the executive producer and vice president for World of Warcraft. I think this is a good program. A lot of Discord communities are in the program already. They're going to be adding more down the road, but they want to allow these Discord communities to kind of exist within some official capacity and not just be some random communities that anybody can start up a Discord. So I think it's good. And I've checked out the portal room, and it's very friendly, very nice. So yeah, it's a great way to connect with other World of Warcraft players, and you'll be able to ask questions. So if you go onto one of the participating Discord communities, you can ask your questions there, and then the partner Discord communities will bring those to Holly, and then she will answer those questions on the 30th of March. So there you go. That's coming in next week. All right. In classic news, so Blizzard dropped this last week, and it was so, there was no pomp and circumstance, just like, oh yeah, this is happening. Mists of Pandaria Classic Phase 4 will release on March 31st. This is the escalation patch, which was originally, 5.3? Yeah, that's, we knew this was on the PTR already, and that it was coming, but we didn't know exactly when it was going to launch. So now we know March 31st is the launch date, Tuesday, and potentially the second to last patch of Mists of Pandaria before something happens. I would expect this to go for a couple of months, and then because we're supposed to get Siege of Orgrimmar sometime in the summer, so I'm guessing maybe sometime around July for Siege of Orgrimmar we'll get, and then we'll see where that goes as we head into BlizzCon this fall. So if you're still playing Mists of Pandaria Classic, cool. Phase 4, March 31st. If you're not playing Mists of Pandaria Classic, but you have a character on Classic somewhere that you're like, oh, still got a character somewhere laying around, go check it out. There are still a lot of people playing it. It's not like it's dead. It's just not as lively as Classic once was. It's definitely more subdued now. But yeah, you can go check that out on March 31st. Blizzard has a new cross-game promotion that they are using to promote Midnight to Classic players. So if you do the Midnight opening scenario or the opening quest line, where you have to go out and help Eretor and do all of that stuff and basically save Caldenas in the initial assault from the Void. If you do that on Midnight, then on your Anniversary server character, you will get a Void Feather Dragonhawk flying mount. Now, I did it before this promotion was available, so it retroactively granted me the completion. So I got my mount, but yeah, I mean, it's a cool looking mount. It will run from now through May 15th. So you have a couple months still to get it, but if you're not playing Anniversary, if you don't have a character with flying on Anniversary, it doesn't really matter. You don't need to worry about this. This is really just for people who are mostly playing Anniversary and maybe haven't purchased Midnight, or they have purchased Midnight, but they haven't actually logged on and played it for some reason. I would suspect most people who have both or who are playing both versions of the game have already gotten this. So this is really just to try and encourage a few more people to pay for Midnight. So and Midnight at its lowest cost point is $50 US. So yeah, there you go. In modern World of Warcraft, this one's kind of funny. The Delve Nemesis Hall of Fame, which Blizzard announced sometime last year, which was going to be the first 4,000 players to kill the Nemesis boss on ? Difficulty. It's closed. The Hall of Fame is closed. And in North America, which released first, it closed in 14 hours. 4,000 players, done. In the EU, it closed in 9 hours. 4,000 players, done. So I understand that you're trying to create a, hey, here's a cool new thing that you can. I understand that, but it seems a little like 14 hours is not a lot of time to get in there and do that. So maybe it needs to be adjusted a little bit. I don't know. It's just, I think it's kind of funny that, because this is not something that I would even try. I never killed any of the Nemesis bosses, ? On the War Within. That's just not something I don't care. I really don't. I didn't even kill Kaiveza on ? Because by that point I was like, yeah, no, I'm done. So yeah, it's interesting that it's so fast, not even a full day, and it's closed. So I guess best luck next time, season 2, if you want to do that. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm assuming they're going to make some adjustments to it. That's just way too fast to have any real value. It's just who got there first. I don't know. What if you were busy that night and you couldn't play? Well, guess you're screwed. The Raid Hall of Fame, at least it takes a few months and people work at it and you put in the effort and you get rewarded. This is just, it's who can get there the quickest. So, all right. The final news item is the Arena World Championship and MDI for Midnight Season 1 has been announced. And the timing of this is very interesting, and I'll get to that in just a moment here. First of all, AWC and MDI are the Arena World Championship and the Mythic Dungeon International. The Arena World Championship is it's what it sounds. It's just arena teams battling each other out for top supremacy, and whoever wins is the champion. And there's real money involved in this too. So there's some real world rewards. The MDI is going to be this is for Mythic Dungeons, and it's a contest to see which team can complete the highest level Mythic Dungeon within a given time frame. So do you complete it on one tier lower because you can get that done, or do you push just a little bit harder and get that, plus 19 or plus 20 key done, or whatever you're going to be doing at that point? So this is really interesting, and that Blizzard has announced this so early. Here's the thing. The Arena World Championship, the cup play, which is basically like this is the group play or whatever. This is the play-in, and this is going to be April 10th through May 3rd. And then the gauntlet and semifinals were going to be June 5th through the 7th. And the MDI, the time trials, will be April 15th through the 20th. Group play will be May 8th through the 24th, and the semifinals will be June 12th through the 14th. Now, this will all happen here in the spring. The finals for both are going to be at BlizzCon, September 12th and 13th. Now, why is that so important? The reason it's so important is because the MDI or the AWC and the MDI are both for Season 1, which means that Season 1 will not end until after BlizzCon. So there was some question as to whether or not Blizzard would try and squeeze in, because basically from the launch of Midnight until BlizzCon is going to be 27 weeks, 28 weeks. So that means we're going to have a really long Season 1. So we might have a shortened Season 2, or we might just have a slightly longer expansion. We don't know. But it is going to be pushed out, because if you do the normal 8-week patch cadence that Blizzard has been trying to achieve since Dragonflight, that would put the launch of Season 2 on August 18th, way before BlizzCon. So, yeah, we're going to... And they are probably... If I had to guess, I would say that the season's going to launch on September 15th for Season 2, which is the Tuesday after BlizzCon. So everyone gets home from BlizzCon, and then you go straight into Season 2, if I had to guess. But I don't know. They may wait a week, let everyone settle in from BlizzCon, and then, all their traveling. And some people like to take a few extra days when they go to BlizzCon, go to Disneyland, whatever. It's just interesting timing because, that's one of the things that we can really speculate on is, well, when is this going to happen? And Blizzard has given us these dates that we are comfortable and familiar with now, this 8-week patch cadence, but here they're extending it out because of BlizzCon. And I think it's just because you have to book BlizzCon so far in advance so that you can get your convention center already set up. You have to have that booked so that you know what day it's going to be. And you can sell your tickets and do all that stuff. So they have to prepare this way in advance, and they don't always know exactly when things are going to line up, like the expansion launch date and stuff like that. So it does make sense that there's going to be a weird period, and sometimes Blizzard just ignores those and says, I don't know, we're just going to plow forward. But in this case, obviously they're doing the smart thing, and they're delaying the launch of Season 2 until after BlizzCon. So good job, Blizzard, I guess. But don't expect anything new until after BlizzCon. So there you go. All right, let's talk about what's going on this week in World of Warcraft. The bonus event for this week is the Delves bonus event. You're going to get the Sign of the Explorer buff, Delver's Journey Progress, Companion Experience, and Undercoins increased by 25%. You get the quest A Call to Delves from Archmage Aethys Sunreaver and Silvermoon to complete 5 Delves, and you'll be rewarded with a Champion Track Delve item. This is a really good event early on in the season. Later on in the season, it becomes much less important. But right now, this is a great one because you're going to want to be doing Delves anyway, and doing 5 Delves is not that big of a deal. So just look at your Champion Track item, plus you're going to get some bonus experience and whatnot for Valyra Sanguinar. This is a really good bonus event to have early on. So definitely go get those Delves done. The PvP brawl for the week is Cooking Impossible. Nomi is hosting a Pandaren chili cook-off in the Valley of the Four Winds between the Alliance and the Horde. The first to bring Nomi all of the required ingredients wins. I love this one because it's silly because there is PvP going on, but you're also collecting ingredients and you're going all over the place trying to get this stuff, and it's really fun. This is truly something different when you're talking about PvP brawls. So when you zone in, you will get the quest Something Different to win a PvP brawl, and you'll be rewarded with Conquest Honor and Marks of Honor. So there you go. That's your weekly events. Not a lot going on right now in game. Not much at all in terms of your weekly events. All eyes are going to be on the Race to World First, which is coming at us now. So we're going to talk about that next.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
For some reason, I have a fascination with the Race to World First. A lot of people don't really give a shit. They're like, who cares? Denethar, stop talking about the Race to World First. You're not a Mythic Raider. What do you care? I care in the same way that I like to watch baseball or basketball on TV. I may not play those sports, or at least not very well. I can play both of them, I'm not very good, especially not now. That is, I'm nearing the big 5-0, but yeah, I like watching sports. And to me, the Race to World First is just another version of sports. So one of the things that's so interesting to me about the Race to World First is the way that these teams go about it. They develop all of these different complex strategies and approaches that are so foreign and bizarre to a normal WoW player that you would go, why would you do that? But to them, this is a requirement to even be competitive in the Race to World First. So we're going to talk about some of the aspects of the Race to World First. I'm not going to get into all the guild drama that goes, because there is some guild drama. I don't think that the top guilds poached anyone, but there was definitely some people who left some lower guilds and moved up. But I don't want to get into all that, because you know what? We're not quite at the point where I'm going to talk about, oh, well, Otani needs to do this. And, I don't know why Mookie Betts is doing that. We're not there. So right now it's just a team. And while some of the players might be known or might be a little bit more famous than some of the others, I don't want to quite get to that point yet, because you know what? At the end of the day, these are just people. They're not mega athletes. They're not multi-billionaires or whatever. These are just people who are playing a video game really, really competitively. So, maybe at a certain point there will become more of a league focused for the Race to World First. And in that case, yeah, maybe we will do some profiles on some of the players. But right now, we're just going to talk about the guilds themselves and how these teams are approaching this. So, okay, first off, let's do a recap of the War Within. So the War Within saw an unprecedented thing occur, and that is that Liquid swept the expansion for the Race to World First. Now, what is the Race to World First? Maybe you don't even know what that is. I'll give you a quick rundown. The Race to World First is just which guild can kill the final boss of the raid first. That's it. That's the race. And it's across the world. Now, naturally, North America has a head start, but that also means that North America has a disadvantage, because they've got to figure out the strategies first. And other teams can watch what North American teams do and go, oh, okay, that didn't work. All right, we were going to try that, but we saw it didn't work. Now, how much of that is actually going on? Probably not a lot. I think these guilds have their strategies already decided well in advance and practiced them. So, yeah, there's not a lot of, maybe not copycatting, but, and early on in the race, doesn't really matter. The first couple of bosses are usually a lot easier than the last few bosses. So generally what happens is some random unknown guild that no one has ever heard of before will rush to kill the first boss. They'll go in a high speed, kill the first boss, and get some recognition and get some recruits out of it. It works really well. In every tier, a different guild gets the world first kill on whatever the first boss is, sometimes the second boss. Usually by the third boss, you get some of the bigger guilds coming in and they start taking those down, because they do get harder. So, again, I love talking about some of these guilds, but right now we're at the beginning of a brand new expansion. And one of the things that happens in a brand new expansion is that people leave guilds. They go, I'm going to play this expansion as this character in this guild. And when the expansion's over, sometimes people drop out, they move to different guilds, they play a different character. It changes the whole dynamic. So it's really hard to predict what's going to happen during an expansion launch, because there's so many variables that we just don't know. But one thing that I did do this time, I wanted to look at, was what guilds have been doing well in the Race to World First. And obviously Liquid swept the race. They killed all three of the bosses first, and which is great. Congratulations to Team Liquid. Echo right on their heels. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to give kind of who are the top 10 raiding guilds right now based on the data from the War Within, because we do have some idea of who the better teams are. And then we're going to go from there. So obviously the first, here's what I did. I took everybody's finish. So Liquid finished number 1, so that gives you 10 points. Echo finished number 2, so that gives you 9 points, and so on. We just added up. So Team Liquid gets 30 points for the expansion, for the War Within. 30 points for 3 number 1 finishes in the War Within. Echo gets 27 points for 3 number 2 finishes, and so on. So Method comes in third at 24. Hot Pot Heroes, which is the Chinese guild, comes in at 21 at number 4. Instant Dollars, which is a US guild, they came in at number 5 with 15 points, which is weird because they were kind of in that middle of the top 10 the whole expansion. They never ranked higher than 5, which was their Liberation of Undermine score. And then Manaforge Omega, they were number 7. So that's still good enough to get them 15 points and number 5 on the ranking. Another Chinese guild, Jitang Hong, is 6 with 13 points. Fat Shark Yes, which is an EU guild, got 12 points. Now, these 7 guilds, they all ranked in the top 10 for each of the raid tiers. Okay. Beyond this, you start getting guilds who maybe they did 2 out of the 3 tiers. Maybe they only did 1, but had a good finish, and so on. So, for example, the raid team Synergy, which is another EU guild, they did not rank in the top 10 for Nerebar Palace, but they were number 6 in Liberation of Undermine and number 10 in Manaforge Omega, which got them enough points for number 8, which is 6 points, by the way, for those following along at home. The guild Advance, which is another EU guild, they only finished number 6 on Manaforge Omega. That's their only top 10 finish for the entire expansion. So using this scoring system, that gives them 5 points and gets them number 9. The Chinese guild Z-Box only finished number 7 on Nerebar Palace. They did not finish top 10 on either Liberation of Undermine or Manaforge Omega. So still gets them 4 points. It's just a little weird because they did really well in the beginning. And a lot of these guilds is really hard to tell, especially the Chinese guilds. I don't know. Did that guild break up? I can't tell because all the websites are in Chinese. So I can't read any of that. I don't know how to read anything but English because I'm an American. So going on from there, you have Mate, which is the number 1 Korean guild. They got 3 points for 2 top 10 finishes. And Myth, which is a Chinese guild, they got 2 points. Banhammer, which is an EU guild, got 1 point. J-Sug, which is another Chinese guild, got 2 points. So you get the idea. It's, and it kind of tapers off. And it's not to say that these guilds didn't do well. They obviously did well. But if we're scoring based off of the top 10, the only way you're going to get points is if you have a top 10 entry. So the reason that I did this is I wanted to look at, so obviously everyone knows Liquid Echo Method. Those are the top 3 guilds. Everyone knows them. They're very famous in the WoW sphere, especially if you pay attention to the Race to World First. But more than likely, everyone has heard of at least one of those guilds at some point. But I'm more interested in the 4 guilds below them. So you have Hot Pot Hero, which is a Chinese guild. Now remember, the Chinese guilds were MIA during part of Dragonflight because Blizzard and NetEase had let their agreement falter because of Bobby Kotick. And so all of the Chinese guilds had to reform on the Taiwan servers and play over there. And so there's no history for these guilds. It overlaps weird and it's really hard to research because again, I don't speak the language and I don't read the language. So if I can't get it translated, which for example, the Chinese guilds Hot Pot Heroes, their name translates to Huguo Hero, which is the literal translation. But to understand the meaning of that, I had to do research and figure out, they're just talking about hot pot, which is a way of eating. It's when you get the big pot in the middle and you put your food. Anyway, doesn't matter. So they are consistently the best Chinese guild, hands down. Jitang Hong is consistently the second best Chinese guild. Instant Dollars, consistently the second best US guild. And Fat Shark Yes, consistently the third best EU guild. After that, it's chaos. It could be anybody. We don't know. Mate did really well. This is the number 1 Korean guild. They did really well in Dragonflight, but they've started to drop off. And I guess there's some drama going on in Korea right now, which, again, I don't know because I don't speak the language. So, yeah, it's just really interesting to me to see how this is laying out. Because you know what? Any one of these top 3 guilds is one giant drama away from completely falling off the top 10 list. Years ago, Echo and Method were the same guild. and there was some drama, and so a lot of people from Method broke off and formed Echo, and now they're better than Method. And there was a lot of people that got, again, I don't want to say poached, they left Method to join Echo in the off season between the War Within and Midnight. So yeah, this is kind of the scene that we have. So I would expect that none of those top 7 guilds that I just named are going to be the world first kill in Midnight for the first boss. I don't think that's going to happen. But we have an interesting dynamic this time around, which is we have 3 raids. It's very possible that by the time you listen to this, we already will have the first guild or the first kill of Imperator Aversian, however you say this guy's name. Refer back to my Liberation of Undermine episode where I tried to name all the ridiculous goblin names. Anyway, he's the first boss in the Voidspire. It's likely that he'll be the first kill, but because we also have the Dream Rift, and Chimeron, it's a little weird because some guilds will probably want to focus on that, while some guilds will want to focus on Voidspire. One thing that I did hear, though, that I saw in an interview is that Echo, at least, and I'm assuming this goes for Liquid as well, instead of trying to get the world first kill on Chimeron, they are essentially ceding that to a smaller guild. What they're going to do is they're going to do mythic splits on that boss. And if you're not familiar with splits are the guild levels up a bunch of alts, and they go in with their alts and somebody's main. And whoever's the main gets fed all the gear, and the alts just pass on everything. And then you just do that over and over and over and over again. And you're just feeding mythic or myth track gear to your entire raid team. So that's, I think, what one of the things that they're going to do is they're going to do mythic splits on Chimeron to just cycle everyone through. To that end, famously, this showed up on, I think it was on Twitter, but Liquid and Echo have both had their players level up multiple of the same class, same spec characters, so they can do this. So you go in, you have the exact same character. All these characters have heroic gear. I mean, they're all geared up so that they can go and they can feed basically these lower tier bosses to certain people. It's a really interesting strategy. If you think about it, these guilds are going in early with their undergear. They're always going to be undergeared because you're never going to have full myth track gear when you go in to kill these bosses first. You only have 2 lockouts, 1, maybe 2 lockouts. So the fact that they're doing this is really interesting to me. I think that I'd like to see what happens with the splits this time with a single boss raid. I'm curious to know how that goes, and whether or not it's going to look poorly on these guilds that they didn't bother trying to get world first for Chimeron and the Dream Rift. So the other thing that's really interesting is that because the raid tier is split up amongst 3 raids, you have Dream Rift, Chimeron, that's 1. You have 6 bosses in Voidspire, and you have 2 bosses in the March on Keldanas, which is not even out yet. We have 2 more weeks before we're going to get Mythic March on Keldanas. So the race to world first is likely to happen twice. And will we end up with a similar type of situation where one guild takes both? Or is it going to be a split where Liquid takes one, Echo takes another? Will Method or one of the Chinese guilds jump up and take advantage of this weird release schedule to grab a world first? Really curious to see how that plays out. Personally, I think that this is going to be one of the most bizarre race to world first because it's going to be 2 weeks and then 2 more weeks of... But by the time we get March on Keldanas, there won't be any more splits. They're just going to go all in. 2 boss raid, try and kill the last boss as quickly as possible. So we'll see how it goes. Me personally, I'm going to be watching, especially this week, because I want to see who gets to the Crown of the Cosmos first, which, spoiler alert, if you haven't already figured it out, you're fighting Ilaria. Sorry if I've spoiled the raid for you, but go watch the raid cinematic, man. I'll tell you, unless you're planning on running the raid with your crew and you just haven't done it yet, that's one of the best raid ending cinematics they've ever done. It's so good. It's so good. You definitely have to go there. I'm not going to get into all the details about it. If you really want to know, have a good analysis of that cinematic, go watch Taliesin's analysis. It's really good. I can't do better than he did on that. So yeah, there you go. Race to World First coming your way twice, maybe. Once for Voidspire, once for March on Caldenas. I think, we really don't know, because honestly, I think it's going to depend on how things go for these first couple of days. And if somebody makes a lot of progress, because let's not forget that normally they're progging 8 or 9, 10 bosses. Castle Nathria was 10. So if you're progging 10 bosses, it's going to take you a lot longer to get through those lower tiered bosses. You still have to put in your reps, right? Well, in this case, we're not going to have that. We're going to have 6 bosses. The first 2 will likely be quick, and those will probably be cleared today or tomorrow. And then beyond that, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So very curious to see how this race plays out. We may be on under 1 week clear for the Voidspire. So that remains to be seen. All right. That's going to wrap up our show for today. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. I really do appreciate it. It is always a pleasure and a privilege for me to get on this microphone and speak to you. I wanted to thank everyone for the very kind words and generally positive reaction that I got to the Johnny Tips interview that I did last week. He's a great guy. He's trying to get me to go on to Thrall's Ball, so I'll let you know when that happens. But yeah, keep an ear out for that. Yeah, really great guy, really fun interview. Had a great time, and it's always interesting to talk to people in that context, because you don't always know what somebody's going to say or what they're going to do. And I think that's an interview that I feel like went way better than I anticipated. Obviously, he carried a good majority of it. He's a really interesting guy. Really just like a chill dude, down to earth, and yeah, just a really great guy. So thank you for listening to that and for the positive feedback that I got on that. It was great, and that was very encouraging to me. So thank you to Johnny Tips for showing up on the episode last week. That was such a privilege for me to get to interview you. So all right, aside from that, if you are enjoying the show, if you're enjoying Azeroth United and you're like, hey, what can I do to help you out? Denethar, you seem like a cool guy. Well, first of all, I'm not a cool guy, I'm a doofus, but if you do want to help me out, there's a couple different ways you could do that. You could consider leaving us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And then you could also consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or putting a comment in Spotify. Those all really help with the distribution and the whatever the algorithm is that they use for podcasts. Azeroth United has grown a lot in the last year, I'd say. We're certainly not one of the bigger WoW podcasts. We're still very small scale, but we've grown a lot. And I really appreciate all the people who give a listen to the show and give me the feedback that I so desperately crave. I want your applause. I need your applause. But those ratings really help out, and the reviews really help out. So if you are able and willing to do so, I would really appreciate it. And if you leave those reviews, I'll read it on the air. The other way you could help us out is if you're watching us on YouTube, you could consider leaving us a like and a comment and a subscribe. Those all really help out. Obviously, YouTube is a weird one because Google had the Google Podcast, which worked really well, and then they got rid of that and then put it all on YouTube Music, which doesn't work really well. So now you're just ranking somebody's YouTube video, and YouTube algorithm is not kind to hour-long videos, but here we are. So yeah, that's what we got. The final thing that you could do is you could consider joining our Patreon. People who are our Patreon members are people who give their IRL money to help out with the support of the show. And I so appreciate that. Every week I try and be so appreciative and show my appreciation so much, because it means so much to me that all of these people are considered, or that they have considered, hey, you know what? I really like your show. I'm gonna help you out with this. So it means so much, and I'm really grateful. So I do want to thank our friend of the show patrons right now. That's Stuglife, Thelial, Greybeard, Raven, Azerin, and Agro Management. Thank you all so much. You definitely help make Azeroth United possible. And I think that's going to wrap up our show for today. So remember to be good to each other. That's a real life player on the other side of that keyboard. It's a person, and maybe they've got kids, maybe they've got, maybe they live with their mom. Who knows? It doesn't matter. It's a person, and we can be kind and we can be polite to them, even if we don't like what they're doing, even if they're crazy and they want DST to be on the badge vendor, and you're like, you're an idiot. We can still be nice. It's okay. Just if they ninja it from you, I'm gonna allow you one foul word, so you can call them a fucker or whatever you want, but otherwise be nice and be kind to each other. All right. Okay. Take care. I love you all, and I'll see you in Azeroth.